Welcome to the JoContractor Show, a podcast created by three regular Joes. The JoContractor Show is a place where trade professionals, business owners, and homeowners looking for solid advice and amusement can hear stories of great success and great failure in the turbulent and unpredictable world of construction. On the JoContractor Show, we dig deep into the realm of remodeling and construction. We chat with construction trade professionals, business owners, and homeowners alike. We support local independent contractors and those who put their trust in the hands of these capable and hardworking business owners and tradespeople. We discuss construction and home maintenance from multiple angles, and we do it with compassion, purpose, and humor. Listen as Lori, Merrick, and Sam, along with a wide variety of guests, explore topics related to construction, home ownership, small business creation, and more. A quick reminder, don't forget to send your questions to questions@JoContractorshow.com. And after you've done that, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe, or talk about us tomorrow morning at the local coffee shop. We appreciate feedback and critique, and it lets us know that you're out there and that you care.
All right, welcome everyone to today's episode. I've got Merrick and Lori here with me. Hello, you two.
Hello, you two.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. So this is our first. We've had this idea for a while, so this is not new to us. And we do call out in the opening credits, and then in the middle, and probably again at the end, for all I can remember. We want you to send us your questions. So whether you're a homeowner or a subcontractor or a contractor yourself, whatever you're doing in construction, if you have questions, we are going to expertly answer those questions. We've got a ton of experience. We've got opinions. We are not looking to provide information that you should live or die by, but we do have we'll give you something, right?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, sounds good. So anyway, what are we in mid-June here? It's been
Summer's finally here.
I think it's early June yet, but we're going. Yeah. We're all moving pretty fast these days.
Well, I can see mid-June is about to smack me in the face as I'm running along through the first part of it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for all of us, really, construction season is in full swing. It's been harder to find time to get together and do all that, but I'm glad we're here doing this.
Yep, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
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 Nice to be back out here in the garage with our mics all set up.
I know, it's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a great space for this. It's sort of perfect. You'll get the road noise every now and again. You got the occasional construction employee walking through, causing trouble. I love it. It's perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is we've got a list of questions, and we are going to, these are legit questions people have asked, and what we're going to do is I'm going to just start reading these things, and I want to hear, I think this will be fun. I want to hear what you guys have to say about these questions. So you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Totally ready for this? Question time.
Let's do it.
All right. So Lloyd asks, as a GC, aka general contractor, just so people understand, and when we get into the answer of this question, I do want to sort of hone in on what the difference between a contractor in general is, or the perception of what a contractor is, and what an actual GC is. But anyway, as a GC, is it ethical to, in quotes, bid shop your subs? Do you know what Lloyd is asking by that? Do you get that?
I get it.
Yep. So who wants to take explaining to our audience what bid shopping would mean?
I'll go for it.
Great.
So if I have my plumber, who I've worked with for 10 years, maybe 20, and I want to get better pricing because there's a job that I really want, and I think I can get a plumber with a better price as a GC, I'm going to try and go get a couple more bids from a couple more plumbers.
Yep.
And I'm going to get possibly a lower bid. So I'm bid shopping my plumber that I've worked with for 20 years. Is that cool or not? I think.
I can kind of tell by just the way you said it. I love it. Yeah, let's hear it.
I have a loyalty gene, so I am rarely going to bid shop and I will work with my subcontractors. And I might even say, hey, Merrick, that seems a little high. Can you come down a little bit? So that's how I do it. I know everybody does it differently, but I'm very loyal to my plumber that I've been working with for whatever many years. If it weren't a sub that I hadn't been working with, I'd be more apt to bid. I don't even know. No, I wouldn't bid shop. I would say if I like him or not. Did I like that new guy?
Right.
Kelly, let's meet the new guy. Do we like him?
Right.
That's how I do it. How about you, Merrick?
Oh, well, very much the same way. I believe in my team, like these people I've been working with for a long time. So if, my electrician, I trust that he's going to be fair with me and give me a fair price. And my plumber, same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's immoral to go out and get a bunch of bids. I mean, that's just effective capitalism,
I guess it is the question is it ethical? That was what was asked of us.
I
here.
don't think it's unethical.
I don't think it is either.
I do think it's not very relational, though.
I think it bites you in the butt.
Yeah.
I really do. I think, I mean, I feel the same. I would never bid shop against anyone that I've had a long-term relationship with. If I'm doing something new, I've never done concrete in this way before. I'm looking for a concrete person. I'm still not bid shopping technically. I'm shopping for the right person. And so I am by no means going to default to the lowest bid. I'm going to figure out which one of those people I think is the most responsible, the best person to do the job, and then I'm just going to say that's the person we're going with.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part is that you're gonna as far as my subcontractors, I have the guy that I know is just going to show up and do it right every time or close.
There's value in that.
And then I've got the guy that's really cheap and a little messy.
Yeah.
That might fit a certain job, right? So like.
Yeah, that's just providing your client with the best of your resources for their particular needs.
And then also but the raw cost of the product,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm, I've got my really good plumber coming in who's got all the guys and they show up looking good and clean up when they're done, if the project can't support them, then I can't support them.
They don't want it.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. If someone says, I want to do this on the cheap.
Again, for that GC asking the question, is it unethical? No, I agree with you guys. Totally not. And then if you're the homeowner on the other end, you're going, what do you mean you're not shopping around? I want this number cheaper. I want it down. But I think as a homeowner, you need to know that the lowest isn't the best ever. And as contractors or general contractors, we don't choose that either.
Yeah. And I think there's also sort of the hidden or unspoken cost of the time it takes to shop through those people too.
Right.
So, sure, I can go shop and get 5 bids for you, but now I'm charging you whatever the difference is. I'm taking that because you're making me work in a different way when I've already got a sub that I love, Yeah. So
and it goes both ways, like if I use this sub on every single project, he's going to make sure to keep his schedule open for me or do the best he can so that when I call, he's going to be there when I need him.
Very reciprocal, yes.
Yeah, and I have yet to have any of my subcontractors show up in a Ferrari. They, you know what I mean? It's not like the difference of every time I've done any sort of bid shopping like that, you come back with I'm going to save $800 and I got to deal with this person who's not going to do as good a job as the person I've known forever.
Right.
Get his insurance certificates.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this system.
Yeah, and Sally's still not driving a Ferrari, so
Right.
I'm cool. We'll hire her.
Yeah.
We'll keep going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Really
It is.
It
Isn't
is-
that fun? Yeah.
It's a great question.
And then I think what we did not get to, and I think we should just quickly preface, and we'll probably do this 19 more times on this show, but a general contractor, a licensed general contractor, is a person who can do work within their own company. They maybe have a crew that does certain parts of the project, but generally they are writing contracts on your behalf as a homeowner with other subcontractors who then, they have contracted to do that work. So the difference there, clients tend to call everybody a contractor. So if the plumber shows up, and yes, it's an electrical contractor or whatever, or a plumbing contractor, but they're not then going to contract out the work that we contract them to do to yet another one. That does happen in certain instances, especially in commercial, sometimes that happens. But everybody gets lumped into this category of a contractor if you're in the trades. And we tend to break it down more into, are you a GC with a GC license, or are you a tradesperson that we're hiring, or a subcontractor?
Yeah, that's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right. Next question. All right. Morgan writes, a homeowner is asking for an itemized statement of time and materials for a job we completed and received payment for months ago. Am I obliged to provide that information even if I could?
This is a great question.
So I imagine the project's already been billed for.
So they completed it and received payment for it many months back.
Was it I wonder if it was a time and materials project or a bid project?
It was not a time and materials project. They are asking now, after the fact, for a statement of time and material statement.
I'd say it's none of their business.
Yeah, Lori?
Yeah, I don't do time and material, and people ask, but it's very common that people will say, hey, can you break that down for me? What's this or what that? And honestly, I look at them and I'll say, honestly, here's what I say is, if I did that for you, then you could sit down and we could be working through this for days, picking this apart. I'm going to lose in some areas and I'm going to win in some areas. So that bottom line covers all of that.
That's
and I'm just
exactly right.
straight honest with them on that.
Yeah, it's only, when I first got into this, I've gotten myself into legal trouble even over this, because I have this desire to be hyper open and honest with people. And it's only ever gotten me into trouble. So I would say, unless this was specified on day one, heck no. There is no way I am giving you the ammunition you need to come back at me and say, well, you were only here for a day doing the tile. Yeah, but the drywall took me 3 extra days, so what do I do about that? You win some, you lose some.
Right, and I think this is a common, everybody thinks that we do it by time and material. How much does that cost? And I'm like, I'm really putting my neck on the line by giving you an estimate. If I give you an estimate, that's what it is. I might win, I might lose, but we don't get to go over all the details. Right. If I do time and material, we can go over the details, but having done this for over 30 years, I never ever do time and materials. And then every now and then I do, and I go, why did I do that? I said I would never, ever do time and materials.
So it's interesting. I'm on the other side of all of our work that we do, with the exception of painting and sometimes some cut and dry easily subcontracted stuff. Everything we do is on a cost plus basis. So our remodeling project, we'll go in and we'll say, well, that would be between $60,000 and $80,000. You get charged for the materials, you get charged for the labor that goes into it. If anything comes up, we have a change of scope document that will let them know, we ran into, here's a picture of some rot that we found, and this isn't included in the original scope. We expect this to take 8 hours, and then keep track of everything on a spreadsheet. It requires my whole team to be able to do that, though, because my lead carpenter needs to make sure that he's filling out those change of scope forms, and I got to make sure that my project manager is communicating to the homeowner that something additional is happening, adjusting the timeline. My accountant, well, it's me and somebody else on Friday. We sit down and we do all the accounting. We have to make sure that all the billing for each job, those hours are going, those materials are going to the right project. It's very labor intensive.
That's what I didn't like about doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say, just sort of generally speaking, you end up in the same place.
True.
There is a cost to the materials, there's a cost to the time, and there's a profit that needs to be derived from this project, and you end up in the same place. But how you get there, I don't have I never had the team of support behind me who would sit down and take all of those notes and make sure all of that stuff was happening. So for me, I could look, and I'm sure you two are similar, but like I could look at a project and say, look, I've been at this a long time. I've done a bunch of these. It's going to cost around $100,000. Like it could be 110, it could be 90, but it's going to be around 100,000. And there's 5 different ways I can get there. Here's, generally speaking, an allowance that I'm going to give you for certain parts, the materials. If you want gold-plated tile or a gold-plated toilet, now you're going to blow your allowance, and then
Right.
we're talking a different cost. But me putting that toilet in or installing that tile doesn't really change. So, I'm making an estimate based on what I know the time will cost and what I think the materials will cost, and here we go.
I think, this, we could talk about these estimates and stuff forever. And on mine, I don't just say, here's the bottom line and here's what generally we're going to do. My estimates are very, very detailed. So anything that they want, if it's not on there, I missed it and we're not doing it.
Yeah,
so,
unless you pay
so
for
it's
it.
not as vague as when I say, here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So I think, and everybody has a whole different approach. Like you just said, Merrick, yours is different than mine, and like what you said, Sam, we get to the same place.
You do.
Right.
You do. I think that, sort of the method behind how you get to the total number that the project costs is not terribly important, but I think that sometimes people are looking for an advantage or a win out of that. Like, ooh, I tricked this guy, sort of. I don't know if that's intentional or not intentional, but I got 3 bids for this. They were all kind of within a range, but I sort of got this person to do it for less because they tripped up on their time and materials stuff, or they gave me a bid that was too low. Like, I don't think, I've very infrequently, if ever, seen a homeowner actually win by getting a job done for less than it was worth. It creates too much trouble.
Lose-lose.
It's a lose-lose
Yeah.
for everyone. Yeah.
Well, just the other part of that cost plus billing platform is that my subcontractors bid, they come out, after the demo's done, and they say it's going to be $5,000 for the plumbing, and then we just do a percentage markup on top of that.
Yeah, of
the
course.
hour, time, and materials is just for my main team,
Yep.
my staff.
That's the way that normally works. So yeah, you're kind of, whether you're using cost plus, time and materials, a straight bid, like you're ending up at the same point. So,
But really going back to that question though, like if you did a bid and they're asking you how many hours, like that's just, what you should tell them is
No.
that if I did this project if this project took me longer, like say I bid this project and it took me twice as long as I thought, would you be giving me money back?
yeah, are we
Does
going to
this-
investigate this matter to see how much more money you owe me? Right. Because I'll do that. But if it's the other way around, if you think you're getting something back from me, no, I'm not investigating this matter.
Or
Like,
you could pay me to look at those stats. It's not going to change
yeah, we
anything.
can hire a forensic investigator. We can look through all this. I don't have time for this. I think that's a fun one. All right. KG asks, and this is one that it's an interesting one. How important is a DUNS number to a business? I understand it as a credit score for your business. That's what KG asks.
I don't know what that is.
I thought that might be the case with this, but it's DUNS numbers have become more of a thing. Do you know anything about
I
DUNS?
don't.
Okay. Well, so it's Dun & Bradstreet,
Oh.
and Dun & Bradstreet will send out all this stuff. And the way, my understanding of it is that Dun & Bradstreet, or your DUNS number, is sort of the most recent evolution of creating a credit score or credit profile for your company that isn't 100% dependent upon you as the primary backer of that credit, right? So you're creating an actual, because like when you start these businesses and you go to get money, they're like, yeah, cool, the business isn't actually borrowing the money, it's all guaranteed by
Right.
you. Like,
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know much about it, but I would say that the DUNS number, to answer the question, DUNS numbers and your registration with DUNS is becoming more and more of an important thing. but at the same time, watch out for those sharks because you can go get your DUNS number for free, and then they'll offer you all these other services. So just avoid that part of it. Go ahead, register for a DUNS number.
And with anything like that, really, before you go into it, figure out what they're all about. Figure out what not to say. Figure out that you're coming in there so that you're not, putting yourself to get, because these big companies are going to come in there, going to know what to say.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lawyer that's telling them what to say, and you go in there as a small-time guy, you can get eaten alive by these big
That's a good point. So I think, we all get those letters that look very official, and they're like, your registration with the state is up. And for this fee, for $150 or $250 or whatever, let us do that for you. And then you go and you look and you're like, oh, I can do that online for free myself, like just through the state website. So there is something about DUNS that is legitimate. Don't pay for anything. Go get your DUNS number. That's fine. But then leave it at that. That's what I would say.
And there's a lot of, just like we didn't know this answer, know what it was. We get emails all the time. And Sue in the office might say, should I just pay this? And I'm like, no. Do you know what it is? No, I thought you did. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, should I pay it? No. Research it.
Right.
Research.
I mean, yeah. I think I think that people are fed up with the online review thing. It's really just inaccurate representation of the company. Because
wait a minute. You think that online reviews are a farce? Is that what you're telling me? Like people pay to have their online reviews?
Did you have your friends check in?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's all a bunch of shit.
It seems corruptible.
It's all a bunch of shit, and we know it. I mean, there's so little about that's to be trusted these days because you can pay a company that hires, a farm of people somewhere off in a foreign land that write 50 reviews about you all at once that all sound great until you read them and you're like, well, these people clearly didn't have anything to do with this,
Mm-hmm.
But whatever.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
I can't
topic.
believe your cynicism, Merrick.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
I have trust issues.
No, I avoid all that stuff like the plague
Yeah.
too. And we'll get into some of these. I know in the second half we're gonna end up coming up against my kind of favorite question that pops up all the time. But all right, here's another one for us. Frankie says, I've just been invited to bid on military base work, looking for any kind of insight or advice or warnings. So federal government military base. Oof.
Sounds sketchy. That's my professional recommendation.
I'm with you.
Oh, yeah.
Lori, any experience with government commercial stuff? Or?
Yeah, run. They're always looking for the low bid. That's what
I
they
love
always
it.
say it too. I'm like,
love
oh, no way. I'm not doing it. I'm not bidding it. And I get a lot of solicitations, RFPs from government
Would you care to
entities or
explain
city.
for people what an RFP is?
Request for proposals.
Yep.
So they'll send it all out. The big GCs, they have no employees. Everything is subbed out. So they send it out and they want you to give a bid, and they're getting lots of bids and looking for the low bid. So a lot of the government RFPs will also they have to find minorities and women, or try to. So
Right.
that's why I always get these requests. And sometimes it's just somebody's like, well, there's no women electrical contractors. You should be getting these jobs. And I'm like, no, I don't want any of them.
I love it. Yeah, so you sort of you check a box in a certain way for people, so they're going to send you stuff like that. Like
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, equality. There you go. I mean, it's that to me is like, that's got to be just a pain in the butt for you.
A lot of emails that I delete.
Yeah.
I every now and then I think, oh, I should check into one of these or something. But it never comes down to being a minority. It's who you know.
Yeah.
It always ends up being who you know. So I've gotten some city projects because of who I know. I knew the architect who said, hey, Laura, you should bid on this. And I'm like, should I? Yeah, you should. I'm like, okay, I will then. Thanks.
Yeah, if there's enough money in it
Yeah.
and everything, yeah.
I mean, in the real world, not the government, picking through trying to find the lowest bid. I mean, in the real world, a vote of confidence from a client or somebody else that you're in the trades with is worth a lot of dollars on that proposal.
Oh, yeah,
If you're
absolutely.
over by quite a bit, but you have the good reference, you're probably going to get that job.
Yeah, I've come to the realization that underbidding or whatever, bidding anything low has never done me or anyone else any good. So I think I said that earlier, but it's
I think we've probably all done it. Now we would never do it again.
terrible.
It is.
Well, and I will say this. I don't know anything about government work, but I do know that the work gets done. So someone's got that system figured out. And even though they're searching for the lowest bid, so are our clients. We're always competing against people, generally speaking, looking for the lowest bid. I think it's a mandate that the government use the lowest bid is the problem there, right?
Right.
But I would assume that because of the very nature of that bidding process, that the people who do bid it should be in cahoots with each other to bid somewhat high so that they're not constantly screwing each other in the deal, I would think. And I do know that a lot of that work gets done and someone's doing it and someone's probably figured out how to work that system and make money off of it. So I would say for us in the residential world, run.
Right.
I think it can be a really good opportunity for the right type of contractor or the right type of person who.
We've done a couple Bacon Davis projects, and what I have learned, there's only two ways that you win. One is quantity.
Yeah.
You just get a whole bunch of them. And two is there people, I found out, I'm bidding on stuff, and I did find out people are working together and, trying to work the system. So there's a whole, it's a game, and I don't really know. But I have done a few projects, and I've done the Bacon Davis. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't pay that carpenter $60 an hour? That's what it says for July 5th of 2022.
Right.
For the, so they have their rates that you have to follow. And it's great because it gives an opportunity for your employees to make more money. It's a paperwork nightmare for a small business.
Yep. That's what would keep me from.
Yeah, and then there's so much paperwork. When what I found in a couple projects I did was everybody got paid more money than the project. The project was maybe $100,000, and maybe $200,000 went out and for the architect fees and for the paperwork fees. And I thought that money could have just went toward that historical project.
Right.
Well, my suggestion to the writer would be that, find, if you're interested in this, getting in with government contract could be a really steady, reliable, year-round thing. But find a mentor. Find somebody that's already done this so that you know how to get in. Don't just go at it alone.
Yes.
And your first, getting in the door is going to be the hardest part. Once you're in there and they know that this company has been doing these jobs and they've been getting done well, just like anything else, you're more likely to be able to start raising your numbers. You have a little bit more leverage to work with.
And I do suspect that it's kind of a heavily protected system, meaning that there are already people in there who already understand the system, who are resistant to allowing outsiders in. So, but I agree. If it's something you're interested in, I would say just don't expect it to be the thing that makes your bread and butter on day one or whatever, but go ahead, figure out the process and give it a shot.
Find somebody in the system.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean,
find a mentor.
People love to tell you about how they built their businesses and how they do it. And it's you'd think that people would guard that stuff, but what I found is that most business owners are happy to share.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it. Well, I'm not going to get into this next one because this will take us, way too long. So we're going to break for our first half here, and maybe grab some water. I'm hearing a little fuzz in there again. Darn it.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out, but I know it's not ruined anything. But anyway, so whatever. Thanks for sticking with us through question and answer period 1, first half of the show. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
Thanks.
We will be back to the show after a few quick ads from our valued sponsors. Wonder Woman Construction is a Minneapolis-based, woman-owned residential and commercial construction and electrical company. Lori and her team pride themselves on their commitment to long-term green and sustainable building practices, and they apply their deep understanding of building science to each project they take on. They are dedicated to the complete satisfaction of every client. One more thing that you absolutely cannot miss about Wonder Woman Construction is the fact that every employee loves what they do and truly enjoys working with each other. The best projects are those that are done by happy people, and Wonder Woman Construction is full of happy people. Visit WonderWomanConstruction.com to get started on your happiest project ever. Kinetic Legacy is the company that powers the JoContractor app. Their unique platform blends the good parts of social tech with their one-of-a-kind data organizing system, giving communities large and small a safe, private space to stay connected and to keep information and memories organized. If you and your community have a shared purpose or passion and are looking for a better way to stay connected, contact Kinetic Legacy today at kineticlegacy.us. Find out how groups from contractors to campers, tribal communities, unions, and alumni organizations are finding their way to meaningful new spaces in this increasingly digital world. Again, that's kineticlegacy.us. Reeder Home Restorations is a Minnesota-based full-service residential general contracting company specializing in the repair and painting of historic homes. Whether your home needs repairs, painting, or remodeling, Reeder Home Restorations has got you covered. We understand that every home, client, and project is unique. At Reeder Home Restorations, we pledge to give you a long-lasting product while paying close attention to client questions and concerns. Check us out at www.reederhomerestorations.com. That's Reeder, spelled with 2 E's, homerestorations.com. The JoContractor Show doesn't let just any old company put an ad in the middle of a show this important. They have to pay us. Send us an email if you're certain your business should be featured on our show.
Good. We're ready. Second half here. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. We know it's short. We are, we're open for sponsors. I think it says it in the middle. You have to pay.
I think that's what sponsorship is.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to make it clear to people,
Yep.
because these are fun to make, and we're going to keep doing it. But no, we're looking to move this thing forward. We're ready for the JoContractor app to be out, which we're working on. Things are moving along well there, and who knows, this show, once it's fully launched, and I imagine you're just thrilled to be listening. That's the way I see it.
On the cutting edge.
We've entertained and delighted you thus far. So there you go. Anything new in either of your lives before we get into these questions, or you want to just go at it? I got total blanks out of both of them. They're like, oh.
Where do we start is what we're looking at. What's new?
Yeah, it's...
One of my guys will hopefully be coming back after his broken arm. So it's
Broken
been since
arm.
March.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
On the job?
Yep, of course.
Of course. Oh, no. Oh, that's awful. Yep.
So I'm excited to get him back.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I'm at the tail end of going through a couple of years of accounting and getting everything up to zero, which is, hundreds of hours of time.
Yuck.
I owe an insurance audit that it's really an easy one. It shouldn't be hard at all. I had so little work that I did and so few subs and stuff, but I still hate the insurance audits.
I know.
That's one of the things I was so thrilled to give over to other people years ago, and now I don't have anyone else, so I have to do it myself again, and I'm like, oh, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, yuck. I'd give it to somebody else.
Yeah, I know. And then there are those weird people out there, and, bless your hearts, who sort of like that stuff.
No.
You're like, what happened to you in childhood that you like this? Like,
Yeah, well, there's
There you
somebody,
go.
right? Any of those jobs I don't like doing, there is somebody out there that loves to do that.
I know.
Which is just one of the amazing things that.
I know.
Well, this morning I read that 17 things to wreck the worst things you can do for your business, and one of them is to do the things you don't want to do.
I should get a proposal writer.
There aren't any. It doesn't exist. Oh God, it's so hard. You know what I could do for you? I don't want to write the proposals, but I could go to the place and say, "This is about 80 grand." Like I was always really accurate at that, but then writing every single part of it down and explaining why, like
Sam will be there for a 4-minute estimate.
Yep. And you're just going to have to trust it. He's pretty close most of the time. Good enough. Funny. All right. Harold writes in. Harold asks, this is one I like. This is about employees. What do you guys do with employees that aren't performing? So I have a guy that has worked with me for a while. I know he's capable of a lot. He's a good carpenter. So it's like he's just milking the clock. He leaves early. The problem is, if I just fire him, I'm down to 3 guys. Any advice?
Oh, classic. Oh my God.
I knew you'd like that one. I knew if we got into this one before the break, too, I'd be sitting here forever because there's a lot to this.
There is.
Merrick, you lit up.
Yeah.
So let's hear it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a really hard thing, but I think just starting at the beginning, having clearly defined, culture for your company. This is how when we show up, we work hard all day long. If we run into something that we can't do ourselves and we need help, we ask for it. Like having it kind of broken down so that everybody on your team is not getting stuck just from a fundamental point of view. And then I think once you notice something, you need to say something right away to that person. And you need to be like, and not to attack them, just be like, hey, I was looking at the hours today and, I thought it was 4 hours and it looks like you took 8. What's going on?
Yep. I think I'm going to just mentally make some bullet points here. I think that mentioning culture, your own company culture, is a super important point. And then the second one you said was get on top of things kind of respectfully and promptly.
Right.
So,
yep.
Sooner is better.
Yep.
Sooner than later is one of our mantras.
Yep. I think those are really valid. Did you have more you wanted to say?
Well, I think
about?
another thing is just as an owner in a position in authority, you need to make it safe for those people to bring you things. And if you're blowing up on them, if they're scared of you, then they're gonna do the best they can. And people are slow and do poor quality work unless they have somebody guiding them in the right direction. The best people.
I mean, when I first started, you only ever got yelled at. No one ever said a nice word about anything.
No.
And it was all people who, loved me, I think. These were like my uncles I was working for, and it was, every name in the book. And you did anything wrong, and they'd throw things at you, yell at you, berate you.
Yeah, framing crews are like that probably still to this day.
Yeah, there are definitely crews out there, concrete, some of the rougher trades.
I had one guy just work for me part-time for a couple years, and he was like that. And there's some of my crew that couldn't or wouldn't work with him, and there was a couple that said, I don't mind it, but he did that. He'd yell at you and throw stuff. And so this is like recently, like 2 years ago, well, pre-COVID, so maybe like 3 years ago. But I'm like, okay, I think we're done. Now we're down to 0 people with you. Because how come nobody works with me?
Because you're a jerk.
You're an asshole.
Yeah, I don't particularly like that quality in anyone. I think there's just better ways to deal with it. I don't think it's outrageous for people to get. Occasionally, you see a little bit of getting heated, but I don't ever. I'm just so mellow about everything. I've never yelled at anyone on a job site or anything like that. Find different ways to deal with it, but.
So here's a a point that I'd like to make, because, well, one is, how do you find a good carpenter? And two is, how do you get all the best traits out of that carpenter, or are they, so I look at it now as, I look for their good points, their good traits. So I had a guy that was, got to be a pretty good carpenter. His speed was slow.
Yeah.
He was never going to get fast, ever.
Some people just can't.
No. So instead of focusing on the negative, I thought about, is he worth keeping? He's got positive traits. So the positive traits, so I look in our company now, I'm like, we all have positive, negative traits, and you can't change anybody. That's what you can make small changes, but nothing big. Every time every review, he goes, I know you're going to tell me I'm slow. Yes, you're slow. But on the other hand, he had a lot of other good traits, and he was meticulous.
Yeah.
No callbacks, and he was very good at communication with the office and with the client. So he would ask the client, is this good? Is there anything else you need me to do? We didn't have to go to his job sites.
Yep.
So, did we make bank on him? No. but he had enough good traits that I also had a fast carpenter at the time that we could make bank on, but there's some callbacks. So, it's a toss-up. It comes down to, is it loyalty, trust, honesty, and communication with each employee? And if it's all good, then, you try to make it work. That's how I look at it.
I got another thing on this. So,
go ahead.
If this person that you're talking about has a clearly defined scope of work, has the knowledge and tools to get the thing done, and they're in fact milking the clock, then you need to fire them, because that is dishonest.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I'd agree with that.
So I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And I've never, every time I've ever let anybody go, I've had somebody else better come in. And in that vacuum, I don't know what it is, but for some
Well, you get hungry. You get hungry to find the right person.
Right.
Yeah.
And suffering drives innovation.
Yeah, sticking with the subpar never was going to fix the problem anyway. Yeah. So you've got this, subpar employee that you have to let go, and then you've got this fire lit under you to find someone good.
Right.
I think it's your fear that might be keeping that person around.
True.
But I do get keeping somebody around for a month or so that you don't screw yourself over.
Right.
There's a fine line. You don't want to just get rid of your whole team and then end up losing your CEO role and going back to being hands-on.
So I agree with everything you two have said, and I have just a slightly different perspective, I think, or a caveat to what you've said, I guess. But I never had so many people in my construction life that I had to really worry about that. The people who worked, we hired a few guys every now and again who'd be with us for a little while, but we sort of knew what we were getting when we hired, the 20-year-old neighbor kid or whatever. I looked at it like, if we're paying you $15 an hour, what is that in a day? Let's say $110 or whatever, right? I better see you do $110 worth of something I don't want to do. If you're not working the full 8 hours, I kind of expect that of you. But all of those buckets of dirt that need to get moved from over here to over there better be done by the end of the day, so that I don't have to do it.
Right.
And if it takes me 2 hours, that's, I'm billing at a much higher rate than this kid. And if it takes him 8 hours, so be it. That's one thing I looked at. But having people around who don't have great work ethic brings everybody down.
Yeah.
So, as long as they're trying and they're doing stuff and they're not playing on their phone or whatever, I'll let someone's inexperience, let them be less productive than anyone else, just as knowing that they need to get trained up or whatever. But the other side of this, so I did, when I worked for a boys camp, I worked there for a long time, 15 years or whatever, and I was in charge of a much larger pool of kids, counselors. And what I sort of realized over time is you're never going to get the same thing. You don't want robots. You're never going to get the same thing out of everybody. So if you take a step back from this desire to feel like employee A and employee C should have the same output and you sort of always relate it back to yourself. Because I know when I was doing construction, I'd look at it and be like, I could have had 3 of these done by now. What's taking you so long or whatever, right? But I would say that within like larger corporate structures, they kind of always know that they're going to get something out of some of these people 50% of the time. They're going to get something out of some of them 30% and some of them 90%, and as long as I look at it like it's sort of doing ourselves a disservice if we expect that everybody who shows up is constantly fully engaged and doing the hardest work possible all day, every day. That's not to cut them slack, but I just think you have to look at it in total and say, and have conversations with them. But like you said, if they're milking the clock, if they're purposefully taking from you, that's way different than I'm slow and meticulous.
Right.
Yeah,
milking is a whole different deal. I would say that person, then what I say to my employees is, if it's not working for one of us, it's not working. And I give a ton of independence and responsibility to each employee for them to be show up on their own, discuss with each crew member, whatever. But I've also gotten a little more lax in, if you don't want to work 8 hours, you don't have to work 8 hours. You don't have to show up right at 8 o'clock. You guys decide what time you want to show up. Between 8:30 and 9 is fine. But there's got to be a lead. But I want people to want to be here, and I want them to be here. And so that's a win-win. And if one of us doesn't want some, it's not working. And if somebody's milking the clock, obviously they don't want to be there. They're done.
Yeah, milking
is a cancer, because while they're milking the clock, they're talking to the other
everyone else
guy,
off.
or they're setting the standard too low.
Oh, yeah.
And the other people are working and they're now mad.
It's not fair.
But you might perceive milking the clock as somebody that actually doesn't have the tools and the knowledge that they need to successfully complete the thing that you think that you could complete in a certain amount of time. Like, if they're sitting there thinking, that's your fault.
Or maybe it's their process.
Sure. Or they're hired to think.
Yeah.
And then you should be working that into your estimate.
Right.
Yep.
So perception is a big thing here.
Yep.
You're kind of getting into what I was getting at.
Yes.
Sometimes, I would have counselors at camp that there would be a few guys who were so dynamic. They were awesome with every single kid they came in contact with. And then there were a few guys that, like, I only ever saw you shine 6 times during the summer, but you reached a few people that we would have never been able to reach otherwise. And I think I apply that in the construction thing. Like, if so-and-so is not the greatest when we're doing trim work or something, then and the only thing we have right now is trim work, it's kind of on me that we're not putting them in the best position to shine. But then when you do these other things, man, that guy can cut stair treads or something, they can do this other thing super well. So you kind of got to find a balance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
And if they're not happy, they're going to work slower and not do as good of a work. And
that's a whole separate issue. If they're milking the clock because they're not happy, then they don't want to be there. You don't want them there.
No, it's
done. No. Yep. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah. And the trades, you got to remember, like, it's not always easy to find people either.
No.
Like, it can be pretty difficult to find.
Especially in like August or September when the season's really rolling, like you lose somebody and it might be hard to find somebody new.
Yeah, so, I think that goes back to the first thing you said, Merrick, which I do think is very important, and that is that, you can get away from having these issues be bigger issues somewhat by establishing a culture within your company where the expectation is universal, the things you want from people, the expectations of the people that work for you are well known, well out in front, I don't know that people talk about the importance of workplace culture enough. So,
Well, and I think even especially in construction, right? Like we don't have an HR department in general. Like we're not
No,
like
we're all small
we're not
business
like
owners.
we're not being affected by these like policy changes that are happening in America's corporations or whatever.
right.
Like,
We don't have 401ks often. We don't have in-house child care or any of these, Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So it's a different world. And I think there's this sort of expectation that everybody just be a complete beast when it comes to doing work or something. And people have complicated lives, and they might have kids they need to, deal with. They might be up late with problems or whatever. So finding out what the reason is behind the issue is always important.
I don't know. Did you? I read an article about Amazon's protocol about hiring and firing, and they kept employees around for 2 years, and then they'd move on, get a new bunch. So they moved people through because they said people would get slower and not interested as much. And
You mean
bored
like
at their
almost
jobs.
without regard for their actual performance, they would just get rid of people?
Yeah.
Really?
It was an article I read and said that works really well for them because they get people when they're super excited and they're going to work hard at the beginning.
They know they're getting fired.
And
in
then
2 years.
then they just move them through. And
How cold?
I'm pretty sure it was Amazon. I could be wrong again.
For sure. They're the evil employer.
I'm not all about
They're not going to sponsor us anyway. Damn it, we lost Amazon. We were so close. We love you, Amazon. Thank you for delivering stuff all the time.
Apple treats their employees really well. I'm pretty sure they're going to want to
We don't really want
here.
you advertising on our show anyway. We don't want to be associated.
That's funny.
But yeah, so it's a whole different look at it. But
Well, I mean, I think that, you can kind of get away with that sort of stuff when you're employing 200,000 people and they're just numbers on a page to you. We have to deal with a lot different stuff because we tend to get to know all of these people really well. And you're sort of looking at someone you've known for a few years and you're like, oh God, do I have to fire this person or should I try and help them? Or are they going through, I mean, I've had all sorts of weird things going on in people's lives that cause trouble at work, but
I wish I could just like throw in a ZipRecruiter ad right now. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter.
you have had good luck with that, though, haven't you? We can talk about ZipRecruiter without them being. But you have had good luck finding people on ZipRecruiter.
I have. I put my whole team together with them.
Yeah.
They take my ad and they send it out to a bunch of different message boards. So I'm getting I have a wide net. And then, they have some tools there that can help you maintain, because that's one of the tough things too. You get 30 people get back to you from an ad campaign, and then who has the manpower or the time to track each of these and figure out what status they're in and all that. So they help with that a little bit too, but it's real people. I don't know. It's
Carpenters
unbelievable to me that
they find carpenters too?
you have carpenters, painters.
Until they pay us, we don't want to give them too much of an ad. But I do think it's cool that you've had success with that because, certainly Indeed is not a place to look for construction
I
workers.
tried them both
No.
at the same
Yeah.
time, right? I ran.
Craigslist is tough.
Yeah.
It used to be word of mouth. I mean, I do kind of hope that, honestly, I do sort of envision that JoContractor, the app, as it moves forward, couldn't be a resource for that in a certain way, because it's one of those things we don't talk about a lot, but it's hard to figure out where the network of construction is these days.
Right.
It feels like it's all really disjointed. Like there used to be maybe fewer people doing it, and they were kind of all knew each other-ish or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's definitely disjointed. It's not like you can go on Indeed or LinkedIn or, so I'm always saying, where do you find, like I just said to Merrick, where did you find them?
Well, and the flip side of that is, where do they find you?
Right.
How does someone who wants a job in the construction industry or in the trades, aside from in the commercial trades or unions where that's pretty clear where you go, but like just to come find us, like how do they do that? Maybe they don't exist even. I don't know.
It's a good question too. We do get a lot, I think just because of being a woman and just because I'm Wonder Woman, I get a lot of applicants looking for jobs. but not the experienced applicants.
Yeah.
So there's where I struggle.
When I put out ads for it years ago, it was amazing to me who would actually apply. I would get kids, 19, 20, 21-year-old, not wanting to go to college, maybe still in college, but looking for something to do, but very inexperienced. Or I'd get like retirees. Like, I've always known a little bit about construction. I just retired from this job doing this, and I'm 63 years old, and I want to work, and I'd interview them because I'm thinking like, well, that's cool. I don't want to discriminate, just for that. But it was always so hard to just find the right people to work. So
I don't know. I just feel so blessed to have such an awesome team.
Well, on you.
I'm just saying.
Good job, Merrick.
But like I think it's a company culture. It's like my ad that I put out there is like, look, we're trying to build this family. We're trying to build this this group of people that can work together and make great things happen. And that weeds a lot of people out. A lot of people are like, well, I'm just looking for a job. Like,
right. True.
I think the more honest you are in your ad, I've had to hire on the digital side of things, and I just lay it out flat out. Like, this is where we're at. This is what I'm trying to do. And don't apply for this job without writing me a cover letter that is unique to this thing. Mm-hmm. And it weeds a lot of people out. So I'm
a risk taker, but coming down to employees right now and just hiring, I'm not being a very good risk taker because we have a great crew, the best crew I've ever had, that gets along with each other.
Yeah.
And me. And I'm so averse at hiring somebody that won't then see if they're going to fit in or if they're going to wreck everything. So we need to hire, and I'm looking, but I'm just kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm. It's such a tough move to be bringing people into, and it costs money right off the bat.
Right.
It always is like this hit you take,
yep.
And then it pays dividends down the road. I get it, but that initial thing, it's like, oh God, am I going to make this work? All right, let's do one more question here. I'm going to throw us a little softball, a little easy one that we can finish with. Pat writes, what's the best compressor for the money? Framing, fences, and occasionally finish carpentry. Why is that a softball, right? What makes that? Because you can't answer that question. Come on, Pat. But what do we think about it? What do you think about tools? Just curious.
Well, I think as far as compressors, there's kind of three different categories.
Right.
I'd say there's, the big old do everything, like actual
the roll
air
off or whatever
volume that you can
roll
move
air
from the compressor to whatever all the different things are, a big one.
Yeah.
And then there's one that's portable that'll get the job done.
Yeah.
And then there's the quietest, lightest one
God,
that you can actually use inside of someone's house without
Aren't those
waking
nice
the
these
dead.
days?
The quiet ones are heavy, though. That's the difference. I mean,
They
that's the
make
hard
these
part.
little teeny...
Oh, those little ones.
Those little teeny ones that can fire off just your little nailer.
But
Or
you
like
won't be
one
hooking up two
framing nail.
hoses to it.
No, you can't do that. Not even a framing nailer, really.
Just one nail.
Okay,
One
yeah,
nail.
one nail. And then it needs a few minutes to recycle.
Right.
Yeah, they are nice though if you're just firing a few pin nails or brad nails into something and you don't want to disturb everyone and you just carry this cute little thing in there. But
And then there's gas-powered ones too, right?
that's why when I read this question, I'm like, come on, what's the best compressor? It's a fun question though in a certain way because we all do have our tools that we love and our things that we do, but it kind of the root of it is like, who do you ask? How do you find the best kind of tool for your category? Which is again, now I'm sounding like an advertisement for JoContractor, but I think what I would be doing if I were looking that up is to find the network of people who do something similar trade-wise, and then asking them specifically, hey, you guys, what have you had the best success with?
Or just looking at the job sites, like, okay, I'm going to buy a siding gun. Well, I know that everybody uses Hitachi and Matoba siding nailers. So that's what I'm going to look at first. And then I'm going to be like, okay, let's see if other companies are trying to compete with them. If I'm not using it every day, maybe I can get something a little cheaper, but probably not. I'm probably going to go and I'm going to be like, if I'm going to start a roofing company, I'm going to go buy a gas-powered, roll-air, double tank.
God, they are nice looking. They're made in Wisconsin.
And I'm going to have, Hitachi nailers. I'm going to copy whatever that pro team is using in general.
Yeah, and it's specific to different parts of the trade. Like Hitachi made the best roofing nailers forever. I don't know if that's still the case, but that's the one you wanted, And then
they still do.
Well, Metabo actually.
Or Metabo,
bought Hitachi, I think, or Hitachi bought the name. I can't.
They didn't even used to be commercially available in this area until a while back. Is what But anyway, I just remember everyone. You had Hitachi. If you were a serious roofer, you had the Hitachi roofing nailer. If you were doing trim work inside, you might have a whole different suite of like Senko or something. But you don't buy their roofing nailer because it's crap. But you do buy their pin nailer or whatever. So, I think ultimately that's where you you have to find networks of people. You see what other people are doing.
It also comes down to that same old adage, don't buy cheap. No matter what, don't get something cheap.
True, it does not pay.
Unless you're just going to use it once. Like literally, if you're going to use it that one time and
set it down,
it's going to sit there for 10 years, then you might as well go buy the Harbor Freight one to shoot a couple nails.
Well, you're right, but that goes to I kind of hate buying tools that I know I'm only going to use once. There's so much clutter. Then I've got tools that it's I gotta have this just for today, and it's $100, and it's going to save me 5 hours of work, so I got to buy it, but I know I'm never going to use it again. It sort of sucks because renting them's not worth it generally either.
No,
not on that low end like that.
No, they're crap.
Or jackhammers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll rent some heavy equipment that I don't want to shell out $2,500 for or whatever.
With Cost Plus, you can just take that rental charge and charge it to the client.
You can do it with bidding too. You just throw it right in there.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm gonna need to rent it. It's all the same. It's all the same. That kind of brought it full circle. Full circle. All right, you two. Well, I don't know. It's when you're sitting here and your garage is lovely. This is a great spot for us to do this. I love the sound of this place, and I think our show is coming along nicely. But we're talking to an audience that we don't know for sure that they even exist. Who was it? Your cousin or something? Who was? No, it was Steve Sywick's cousin, brother. Tom Sywick. Yeah, my name. I'm bad with names. Always have been. Anyway, no, it's his brother, right down in Florida. That's our one listener. Not anymore because I got the name wrong. Jesus! Oh, I ruined everything.
100% of our listeners just left.
I ruined it. No, what we would appreciate is what I'm getting at is go ahead, hit the subscribe button. We're not charging you anything. Hit subscribe. Like whatever you can. Do the social thing, whatever that is. I don't even understand how it all works, but do something. Write us a note. Send us questions. We appreciate it so that we know that you're actually listening. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up then. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to another amazing episode of the most important show out there. Before we go, we want to thank you again for supporting us and for all the lovely things you say about us on social media. Shows like this grow with help from people like you. And remember, keep sending us your questions. We really appreciate the stories and the great insights we gain from our audience. We also want to remind you that you can buy shirts, hats, and more at JoContractorshow.com. Be good to each other, and we'll catch you on the next show.